Remember where this light is right now. This here. Because that will have moved over here when this episode is over. Yeah.
Ruff, ruff, ruff.
Hey guys, it's your Bo the Doggo, and welcome back to Adastra, the furry visual novel where we have been kidnapped by a space wolf. And he is taking us to the moon Adastra because his kind want to introduce human, that is us, to the galactic civilization. And they're doing so by taking a few humans and introducing them to aliens, I suppose. I don't know if that's actually what's going on, but that's what what's his face told me. Again, the last episode ended with him knocking us out, and yeah, I think we're like falling asleep or getting into unconsciousness or something. So we're gonna continue and see if we arrive to Adastra this episode. So let's go. I float in the void of nothingness. Not even blackness. Nothingness. The feeling of having no sense or self. The boundaries of my being having no boundaries. It makes me panic. I'm still here, but nothing else exists. Am I all there is? I feel the borders of my sanity start to bend and break. It only lasts for a moment before something massive and encompassing grabs hold of me. Instantly I'm comforted, calmed by a sense of complete security. All is as it should be. I crack my eyes open to a grey ceiling, the familiar hum of the ship in my ears. My back aches as I feel my hands bunch up underneath me, making me arc uncomfortably. The numbness isn't there like last time. Instead, it just feels like I woke up from a deep sleep. I can tell that I'm back in the utility closet, laying on the shag rug. But the door is open, allowing me to actually see. Slowly, I turn my head just a bit, and I'm able to vaguely make out the small deck that I just been in. I see Ampyx to the far right, both of his paws resting on the counter with the food dispenser, looking down at the panel. He's got his back to me at an angle, one foot crossed behind the other, his tail swishing back and forth while he mumbles to himself. As slowly as I can, I turn over to my side, trying not to let out a groan of relief as my back and hands are relieved of pressure. I grimace through the pain of having blood rush back into my fingers. And that's when I realize that my hands are tied at the wrist behind my back with some cord of some sort. The end of it dangles through my fingers and it feels smooth and metallic. Some slow moments with my hands tells me immediately that I haven't been tied well. My left hand is fairly secure, but the loop around my right is loose. I get the feeling that if I push hard enough, I might be able to slip it. And just like that, it comes out. My shoulder jerks when I do it and I freeze, waiting to see if Ampyx might notice. He goes on to stare down at the panel, leaning forward to rest his chin on a fist. Cassius is probably going to figure this out right away. I know it. Ampyx sighs and hunches over further. I let out the breath I'm holding as quietly as I can before I start looking around, moving my head as little as possible. On the shelves are a variety of different objects that I can't identify. They all have a heavy industrial look to them, and I know that I can use any of them as a weapon. There's a long pipe-like object at the end of the bottom shelf, and I imagine hefting that in both hands, bringing the end of it down on that stupid wolf's. Ampyx suddenly straightens up and I stiffen, closing my eyes. I hear the wolf move, padding in my direction. That continues until there's a pause and I can feel his presence standing in the doorway. I crack open an eye, just a tiny bit to see what he might be doing. I get a vague image of him standing over me, looking down. Hello? Human? Bo? I don't move, and I breathe as evenly as I can. Hello? He must know that I'm awake. I can feel myself shaking from all the tension. Damn it. Ampyx mumbles to himself as he turns away, moving back towards the deck. And that's when I realize that this might be my best chance to make my move. He is not going to take me back. He has knocked me out twice, and that's reason enough to do what I'm about to do. As quietly as I can, I roll over and reach out for the metal pipe. And by some miracle, I manage not to cling it against the metal rack that it's on. Quietly, I bring it up in both hands as I stand. It's heavy. A lot heavier than I expected. But I can manage it. I focus on the retreating wolf's back and move at half run. my bare feet allowing me to quietly pad towards him. Despite that, I see his ears come up at the last second, his body starting to shift in a way that tells me that he's about to turn around. And I swing. And what happened next is something that I can't explain. I aim for his head, wanting to cause as much damage as possible, not really thinking about the consequences of what might happen if I seriously injure or even kill him. But for some inexplicable reason, the trajectory of my swing suddenly dips down as if caused by some invisible magnet, making me miss Amiko's head. The strange force doesn't lessen the power of my swing though, and it carries through and lands with a hard, meaty thump into the side of the wolf's thick neck. Oh! Amicus cringes, both paws moving to cover his back and side of his neck, dropping it to a crouch. He looks back at me, his eyes wide and wild. An expression that sends a shot of fear into my body. I suddenly see him as a wild animal. A wild, scared, and very angry animal. I raise the pipe again, over the head to bring it down on the head I just missed. But Amicus is fast. He lifts up in a crouch, in an upward and forward motion, straight into my chest. I wheeze, but manage to stay on my feet as a wolf carries me backwards to slam me against the wall of the deck. Amicus snarls into my face. Teeth bared, one-eyed whinging shut. I struggle, but there is no way. He handles me like I'm a rag doll, like a toy. And this must be how someone feels during a wild animal attack. Completely helpless, suddenly wondering why evolution left us so damn defenseless. What the hell are you doing? Ugh! Amicus yells at me as he let go of one of my wrists to put a paw in his neck, cringing as he does. Damn it! I struggle with my free hand, grabbing Amicus' face and trying to gorge his eyes and nose. The wolf immediately lets go of his neck and grabs the pipe. He wrenches it away, but I try to hold on and almost get lifted off my feet. He swings it one way and then violently in the other direction, throwing me to the floor of the deck as I lose grip on my weapon. Amicus advances on me as I lay flat on my back, staring up at him wide-eyed, realizing how big of a mistake I've made thinking that I could handle a 7-foot-tall, muscle-bound wolf. I wonder if he's going to come at me with a pipe, but he throws it to the side. He starts to lean over me, still snarling. You little prick! This time I'll bind you up to your shoulders. How does that sound? He grabs one of my arms, trying to pull me up, but I go limp. Get up! Otherwise I'll make you! He grabs my other arm. And that's when I notice his wide stance over me and a particular bulge between his legs. I hardly think about it. Drawing back 1 foot, I launch it as hard as I can into his crotch. I feel a distinctly soft form get flattened on my foot as it gets trapped between the force of my kick and the substantial weight of Amicus' body. If there was any doubt in my mind that this male alien would be affected any differently compared to a male human, his reaction quashed it. Amicus freezes, eyes wide, hunching over me even further while his thighs snap together, trapping my foot. We both stay frozen for an awkward length of time as I stare at what I just done. And that's when I see the device hanging on his wristband, the one that he had been using to knock me out. I struggle to pull my foot free from the surprisingly tight embrace of his thighs, while at the same time pulling my hands out of his now limp grasp. I reach for his waist, grabbing the device. Amicus, probably distracted by the unexpected nutshot, doesn't seem to notice, and I finally yank my foot free. As I stumble to my feet, the alien half-heartedly grabs at me, and I struggle against his paw before reaching for his red cape and pulling it over his head. Amicus finally stumbles back, one paw flying to his crotch, the other strangling with his cape as he stays bent over, mouth hanging open, making a weird gasping sound like if he was holding his breath. I look at the device in my hands, desperately trying to understand how to use it. A glass panel takes up most of the face of the device, like a phone, but 2 metal prongs sticking out on the end. I frantically push the screen and it comes to life, displaying a vertical bar. About 1/10 is filled from the bottom with a light blue color. I push at it with my thumbs, waiting for something to happen, for electricity to start arcing between the prongs, or something. Instead, the bar fills with a slide of my thumb. I push it all the way up until the color turns dark violet. I hear a snarl and see Amicus finally tear his cape off before coming at me again, one paw over his crotch and the other reaching out for me. I don't have time to think, I just duck under his approaching paw and press the progs as hard as I can into his body. It sinks into his stomach and I hear the wolf make a huff sound into my ear. There's a pause as nothing seems to happen, And then I press harder and squeezes the device, and the result is instant. There's no sound, but Amycus' body seizes violently, shaking as if he was having a seizure. The muscles in his stomach tenses hard and push the device back out a few inches. I hold it there, not wanting to let go in case it isn't enough, in case he'll just recover and come at me again. After a few seconds, the wolf seizing and shuddering stops on its own. I start to pull back and get a glimpse of Amycus' face. His muzzle hangs open, foam and drool hanging from his chin, his eyes rolling back into his head. It's a scary sight, so I try to back away, and Amycus comes with me, the contact with the device having been the only thing keeping him balanced. His weight takes me down, and the next thing I know is that I'm flat on my back, struggling to breathe as Amycus' incredible weight crushes me into the metal deck. He practically envelops me with his soft, furry body, his big head resting on my chest. I stare down at him, watching as his black lips and eyelids twitch, his tongue hanging out as he makes sporadic snorting sounds. I gasp and strain as I spend the next minute working myself out of under him, grimacing as his foamy drool smears on my chest. Finally, I manage to break free from his dead weight, and I crawl a few feet away, spending a few moments catching my breath. I look back at his still twitching form, his rump stuck slightly up in the air. I wonder how long it would take before he wakes up. There's a long, shiny, thin cord around my left wrist, and I start to work at the knot. It's a strange metal, smooth and metallic, yet it bends as easily as a rope. It's a pain in the ass to get undone though. It's just like this dumb wolf just put as many knots into it as he could. He probably had no idea what he was doing, and now it makes sense why I was able to get out of it so easily. While I am undoing the mess, I keep looking over at him. The twitches and snorts are subsiding, which I'm not sure if is a good thing or not. Oh, come on! I grunt as I finally pull the last tangle out, straightening the metal rope thing out in both of my hands. I look between it, and the knocked out wolf is in front of me, giving my head a little shake. What the fuck is even happening? I get to work, planting my butt on Amycus as I pull both of his paws behind his back. I have some difficulty keeping my balance as I lift his heavy arms and start winding the rope around his wrists. I'm not exactly an expert at tying hands behind backs either, but I feel far more confident in my work than Amycus ever should have in his own. I guess his carelessness makes some sort of sense, considering that I am a tiny human and he's a giant canine. He probably thought that he'd be able just to toss me back in the closet if I got free. I look over my work, somewhat satisfied with how neat and tight the binding is. I shift and almost slide off the wolf's butt, force me to put my hands back and steady myself on his thighs. They're thick and heavily muscled, and that makes me realize that they might also be a problem. I have no doubts in my mind that he'll be able to take me out with just a few nasty kicks. I stand up and start looking around for more ropes, but that's when I notice that something strange is happening outside the window. Thin streaks of light stretch and bend, moving slowly from the front before arcing in long lines to the sides and disappearing from sight. I stare, mesmerized, then suddenly feel sick at the sight. I avert my eyes, looking at the wall while watching the strange light show out of the corner of my eye. Are those stars? Are we in some sort of wormhole? Or what is it called? Hyperspace? I start to get the feeling that I am very, very far from Earth right now, which makes me feel even more sick. I want to keep my mind off it, so I set about searching the deck for more of that metal rope, trying to ignore that I might be moving at the speed of light into the depths of space. And I don't have much luck. Most everything in the ship is flush to the surface, with very few moving parts. I end up going back to the utility closet, and that's when I see that metal polygon with the long cord sticking out of it. The one that I knocked off the shelves earlier. I lean over and pull at it, deciding that it should hold, even though it's more plasticky and not metal. 5 minutes later, and I have his legs bound together. I search around for the taser for another minute, before finding it pinned between Amycus' chest and the deck. I'm hot and sweaty as I finally get to sit back against the opposite wall, staring at the face-down wolf and his bindings. I weigh the taser in my hand, going over scenarios in my mind for what I'm going to say to him when he wakes back up. And that's where we end it. The game itself faded to black, so I guess it took a rest or something. We will find out in the next episode. So let me know what you think in the comments about these videos. Are you liking it so far? I must say it feels good to be back doing some visual novels again. I kinda missed it. I know that I say that I don't want to do them anymore after I've done one because it goes on for so long, but I'm also, when there's a big gap from where I'm not doing them, I kind of miss them. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and here are my patrons. Big thank you to all of you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Thank you so much for supporting me and letting me make videos like this. All links are in the description if you're interested in anything about me. Let me know what you think about these bit shorter videos. I think these are about 20 minutes or so, instead of the visual novels being up to like 40-50 minutes. These are these are shorter, so let me know what you think about that, because I think when I make shorter videos I can release them with a smaller gap, so like every second day or so. So yeah, let me know what you think about that, and take care guys, and remember that you are loved and appreciated, and that you should be proud of who you are, because I want to see you in the next episode. Bye! What did I tell you? Here it is. It's almost in my face. Oops.